authority. If you're a non-member, that is a separate question. But in the face of such history, you simply cannot portray them as evil or as simpletons. Since all history is affected to one degree or another by the faith position of the historian, I rejoice when any topic is treated by someone who is both a believer and a good historian. Ideally, the result will be so conscientious, willing to face the facts and consider the complexity of the events, that the resulting article or book will command attention. Not wishing to be misunderstood, let me say I also welcome non-Mormon historians and will praise their works when they deserve it. Consider a current example. The Mountain Meadows Massacre of 1857 has been a cause célèbre ever since. Anti-Mormons have loved that event. They describe it in excruciating detail, conveying the impression that this was Mormonism, pure and simple. Instead of the smiling, clean-cut young people with name tags, the real Mormonism lurking behind the facade is the massacre and other events like it. This is what they would like us to believe. Typically, the anti-Mormon writer is not satisfied with describing the event. The dramatic group killing is used as a foundation for larger conclusions: the perfidy of Brigham Young, the intrinsic cruelty of the Mormon religion, the horror of its doctrines that would allow such a thing, or as with John Krakauer's recent book, the narrowness, self-righteousness, and violence of all religion, using the Mountain Meadows as a case study. Well, how should faithful Latter-day Saints respond? I quite like George Q. Cannon's answer to R.N. Baskin. R.N. Baskin was a judge in Utah, not particularly friendly to the church, when Baskin was testifying before a committee of Congress and told about the blood atonement and how Mormons just had it within them due to secret covenants of cruelty to murder their enemies. And Elder Cannon said, if we are so murderous, if enemies of the church are simply sent to hell across lots, why are you sitting there smiling? You are a known enemy of the church and have lived undisturbed among us for many years. I think it's a perfectly permissible answer for a Latter-day Saint who is confronted with something shocking about the Mountain Meadows Massacre to say, I don't know anything about that. What I do know is that it's not part of my religion. I've never heard it defended or advocated. I do not have a testimony of the Mountain Meadows Massacre. We're talking about what historians can do. The best response to bad history is to write good history. Juanita Brooks wrote one such work. During the past year or two, new attackers have entered the fray, as you know, recounting the massacre in all its horror, and this time laying the responsibility squarely on Brigham Young. And I wish I knew the complete story behind that story. Individuals of means are willing to subsidize works of this kind. And not surprisingly, there is an audience out there ready to publicize it and lap it up. Now, instead of simply writing a review, and there have been reviews written, and the Fair Site has some items, and Farms has some reviews. But in addition to that, 3 historians have undertaken an exhaustive study of the Mountain Meadows Massacre. Richard Turley, Ronald Walker, and Glenn Leonard are in the final stages of a book that fully satisfies what I urged earlier. It will be thorough, using more sources than anyone else has ever used. It will be comparative. It will place the event in its wartime context. It will be the book that anyone who presumes to write on a subject simply must come to grips with. Bad history The attack history of the anti-Mormons will be shown for what it is by superior history. Is not this a model? One can think of a series of controversial and problematical episodes of our church history. With newly available sources, with fresh questions, they are ripe for re-examination. And I'm not giving you an exciting original idea that no one else has ever thought of. Some articles and books have already done what needs to be done, but there is much yet to do. We can be sure that our worthy opponents will not close up shop and will not cease to mine Mormon history for anything negative they can use. And if many Latter-day Saints simply ignore their attacks, I am not surprised. After all, they have careers to pursue, families to raise, callings in the church to perform. Without seeming hugely upset over incidents in our church history, they have work enough to do ere the sun goes down. But we also have historians, both professional and amateur. And they also have a work to do. I don't mind calling on our apologists, including those present here today, to write good history. You need not embark on a huge multi-volume project like Pastor's 20 volumes. It can be a study of one incident or one problem, eventuating in an article or a 2-page response. If it is a historical question, let our treatment be good history. Simply treat a given topic in a way that satisfies any honest reader and in a way that meets the accepted standards of scholarship. Some of our apologists are already doing this, and I acknowledge that and appreciate it. They have defined a historical problem with precision, examined all the evidence, subjected it to the necessary critical analysis, and presented their findings. Those with the requisite training, skills, and time will continue to do this, making a contribution and perhaps even producing major works of history. The evildoers can humans fret, can use their tiresome tactic of labeling the work as apologetic. You notice how they think that's some kind of wonderful argument? But if they are not brain dead, what they are really thinking is, hey, these guys are good. This is good history. I've lost track of time. Do I have 5 more minutes? Okay. How important is history? I have been speaking as a historian. What about converts in Mongolia and Ghana? Do they know, or should they know, 19th century history? What about those non-readers being produced by the government schools in this country? Will they know the details of Mormon history? What about the young missionaries preaching the gospel throughout the world? Are they shining bright because they have read history books for 10 hours a day during their teenage years? How much do they know, and how much should they know? Someone is making decisions as to what to include in the missionary instruction lessons. As I read through that material, I see no emphasis on history. Seminary and institute students